Awesome. All right. Well, welcome everybody. So glad to see the participants that have joined us today. You guys are here for today's admissions information session. More specifically, you guys are here for our Master's Entry Clinical Nurse program. Of course, we use select acronyms here at UCLA, of course, right? University of California, Los Angeles. We like to do the same here in the School of Nursing. So instead of saying Master's Entry Clinical Nurse, you can shorten it, just say MECN program. It's a lot easier. And just first and foremost, before we even get started, just know that this program is for those that have a bachelor's degree or will be completing a bachelor's degree in another discipline. Okay, so as long as you have your bachelor's degree before you start this program, you'll be eligible to apply to this master's, right? We have a master's in capitals because this is a master's program. And at the end, you will be able to sit for your RN licensing exam, which is the NCLEX. Before we continue, my name is Mark Coven. I'm the Director of Recruitment, Outreach, and Admission. And we have the lovely Natalie Asensio, who is also joining us.
Hello, everyone.
We're just missing our other teammate, Jamie Gama, who's not here today. But we are what we like to call the A team, the dream team. We have so many names. But as you see, as we continue throughout today's session and throughout the application process, the three of us will be the ones that will stay in contact with you. All right, so for today's agenda, we'll try to stay on script, but I'm pretty sure that we will finish before the 4 o'clock mark. But I'll continue with the introduction, curriculum overview. Then Natalie's going to take over and she's going to talk about how to have a successful application. We have Leonie Thomas, who's our Director of Financial Aid. She has put together a short video for us to explain the financial aid process, scholarships, funding, and all that good stuff in terms of what it's going to take to be able to pay for it. If it's not that, if it's a scholarship and so forth. And then what we'll do is we'll just close it out with the remaining time and answer all of your remaining questions that you guys have. Okay, before we get started, we do have a small video of our simulation lab. And what you'll see in there is our mannequins in terms of what our students are able to do before they actually get into the hospital setting. So you'll see a bunch of our mannequins and the sort of things that our students do, right? So what it basically does is it replicates a hospital setting and the type of clinical environment that our students will see in terms of patients. So I'm going to do a quick new share and get to our YouTube video and press play if I can. Oh, wait, give me a quick second before I do that. Make sure the sound is there. All right, where are we? Okay, Natalie, I'm gonna see if it works. For some reason, it's trying to tell me it needs me to download some stuff, and hopefully we don't need that. So let me know if you can hear it.
Good morning. How are you? Good to see you this morning.
Do you have the discharge instructions?
Yeah. I'm just going to pass off, and Nora's going to be taking care of the discharge instructions.
I'll be the nurse taking care of you today.
We're going to start an extra line on you.
Here at UCLA School of Nursing, simulation is a very important piece of the training. It takes a student out of a lecture hall and puts them more into a clinical setting. We have mannequins that have ability to mimic a lot of different patient aspects.
They're able to breathe, their chest rises, they have coughing, wheezing, lung sounds, crackles.
A lot of the higher tech mannequins actually sweat. We can change their pupil sizes, and by computer we also can change any vital sign similar to a real patient. It's a way to get the students more engaged and to get those clinical experiences such that they don't have to actually practice on real patients. ICU simulations are to mimic the environment in an ICU, to add some extra stress, to add some extra equipment that the nurses have now been trained on, and then depict some kind of event that would be typical for an ICU and see how they can react to that event and intervene to make the patient better.
There's a lot of instances where things happen right away, you have to respond right away. It's been able to help me practice my emotions, help me practice how I deal with things.
What's great about simulation is that the student actually gets immersed into a situation. When they get to the ICU environment, it's not foreign to them. The leadership simulation that we do is done for senior students who are nearing graduation. We have 5 patient beds with mannequins simulating an actual clinical floor.
You come in and your nurse will give you maybe like a fast report. They have to go somewhere.
He's a 60-year-old male that was admitted several days ago for an exacerbation of his asthma.
You go to your patient rounds and you go, first patient, okay, you check on them.
How are you feeling? Like dizzy?
But then you hear like a bell from another room.
Okay, I'll let her know.
I'll be quick. Okay.
The goal is to give them a little bit of stress because we want them to be able to think as a nurse and to be able to think on their feet.
So, Mr. Salter, you're having very low blood pressure.
It can certainly be that chaotic during the day, and that's why we have this for practice, to put us in those situations so we can learn how to think, what to do.
After each of the simulations, it's really important to come together and have a debriefing. The whole point of the debriefing really is for them to reflect on what they were thinking when they did different things, and then if they would do anything different, how would they do it different?
It's really helped us boost our confidence and also helped apply everything we learned in the books to what we see in the real world.
The goal of simulation here at UCLA is to send students out into the clinical world more prepared and better able to tackle some of the more difficult types of cases that they're going to come upon.
Awesome. So hopefully you guys saw a quick little glimpse in terms of what our students go through, right? In terms of the simulation lab before they actually go out there and do, or start, I should say, their clinical rotation. So we have mannequins now. As you see, they talk, they bleed, they even give birth. So a lot of our new mannequins are doing a lot of obviously what us humans do, right? And so it's really cool. And I think our students really enjoy that before they actually really get started and going. All right, so let's go ahead and continue. Just to let you guys know as well, right, that this is a 2-year full-time program. Okay, so pretty much it's going to be about 22 months in length. You're going to start fall quarter, and you're going to go all the way through your first year. You will have to come to somewhere in between year 1 and year 2, and then you're going to finish up in your second year of your spring, I should say, quarter of your second year. So basically, it's going to be about a total of 7 quarters. Yeah. If you guys aren't familiar with the quarter system, we do work every 10 weeks, right? So we do go a little bit faster than for those that are on the semester. Semesters, I believe, is about 16 weeks. So we do move a lot faster. So there's pros and cons, right, in terms of being part of the quarter system. For those that have been part of it or haven't, you can be in week 2, week 3, and already have a midterm, right? So it does go really fast, and you just kind of have to think about, what materials or what have I learned in 3 weeks, knowing that I have a midterm. So if there's a class that you don't particularly like, or maybe even a rotation, it's going to be done fairly fast compared to having to sit there for the full semester. I know you guys are looking at that last bullet there to see how many students we admit per year. And so we have the opportunity to admit 70 students per year. So that is 70. We do have a wait list. So that might be the next question you guys might be thinking. So we do have a wait list of about 30 to 35 students. And so for the initial 70, as we offer admission, for anyone that says no, we go to our wait list. For instance, as of today, in July, we do have our 70 students, but we did go down to the wait list. We went down to, I believe, we're in the teens. I want to say we're in the teens, about 14 or 15, right? And so there will be instances, even though we have our 70, we continue going throughout the summer, and before the fall starts, we may have some people that will drop off. So we hold our wait list open all the way until the start of the program, just in case we do need to grab someone off. The next question you guys may be thinking is how many students apply per year? So typically we'll have around 400 to about 500 applications. That does depend on the year, but we're anywhere between 400 to 500. So just to kind of give you that ballpark in terms of how many we admit, how many people apply, and how many are on the wait list. So hopefully that is helpful. People also kind of think about, hey, what does a typical MECN student look like? Again, not that age, gender, and race, and all the other stuff matters, but a lot of people just want to see, hey, where do I kind of fall in line with that? So for the students that were admitted this upcoming fall, we had about 61 that identified as female, 9 that identified as male. As you see, the age range is pretty much for anyone that has just graduated from their undergrad, or for those that have been in a career for X amount of years and that want to do a career change. The average GPA always hovers around a 3.5. And so the GPA does come from your undergraduate degree, okay? So it is going to be cumulative as well. So for anyone that has completed their bachelor's degree already and is going back to complete prerequisites, the new grades that you receive do not go into your GPA, right? So as soon as you graduate, your GPA is set in stone. There's no way to increase or decrease your GPA. If you are wondering what my GPA is, you should be able to go to your unofficial transcripts and go pretty much probably to the bottom or the last page of the official transcript, and it'll tell you what your cumulative GPA is. In terms of where you received your degree, if it's a UC, if it's a CSU, if it's a private or even an out-of-state public school or out-of-state private school, there is no priority. Doesn't matter what school you go to, one school doesn't have a priority over the other. Another thing is our MECN students are going to have tons of experiences, but it's going to be in a variety of different experiences, right? If it's going to be work experience, if it's going to be something that has to do with healthcare experience, if it's volunteering, interning, our applicants, and then those that turn into students have a wide variety. So an example would be we have students that have become EMTs, CNAs, LVNs, who have gone through internships or volunteered in hospitals, nursing homes, clinics, who have done mission trips, who are in other healthcare type of capacities, right? So we're not looking for one type of area or one type of student in terms of the things that they do, but it's really going to be about from your experience, right? How that relates into you wanting to become a nurse. So we'll talk a little bit more about that, but just wanted to emphasize how experience is important and it can come in a variety of ways. Okay, so there are three things that I think make us one of the top nursing schools at UCLA, right? I always kind of give this same example. So you guys probably have heard this if you maybe listened to one of our other info sessions, but in terms of our community, if you guys have stepped foot on UCLA, of course, if you're a graduate or just visit the school or the campus, you know that UCLA is its own community, right? Within, you know, Westwood, to Santa Monica, and so forth. And what do we mean by that? On campus, we have our own hospital, of course, right? So we have the UCLA Ronald Reagan Medical Center, which is the #1 hospital on the West Coast. So we're really proud about that. It's been like that, I think, for almost 30 years. We have this huge kind of like billboard right in front of Ronald Reagan that states how many years it's been #1. We also have our own police department on campus. We have our own transportation. We have what we like to call in the village, where we have tons of places to eat, and entertainment, and all of that good stuff, right? So it's pretty much everything a community needs in order to be successful. Well, if you were to kind of scale it back and say, hey, now in the School of Nursing, what does that mean? So we like to say in the School of Nursing, we are pretty much our own community, right, within the big kind of campus limits. And so by that, in the School of Nursing, we are small, I guess, compared to other nursing programs, where we have about 600 plus students from our undergraduate all the way through our graduate programs. But in that, we have all the different type of resources that it takes for our students to be successful. For one, if you guys remember, we have Leonie Thomas, who is our Director of Financial Aid, right? So other majors or other departments may not have their own financial aid office. They may have to go to Upper Campus in Murphy Hall to speak to someone. Where with Leonie, she knows all of our students, knows all of their contact information, knows what they need in terms of scholarships, loans, and all that great stuff. So that's something that's really important. We have, of course, a mentorship program, if you guys heard about that, where what we do is we match up a first-year MECN incoming student. We match them up with someone who's getting into their second year. And that's just someone that will, you know, give you some ins and outs of the program, some pointers, can pass down books, maybe even scrubs, whatever the case is. So if you need help in terms of a student point of view, we have that through our mentorship program. You're going to have your own faculty advisor as well, so someone that you'll be able to meet with quarterly, but you'll also have someone in the student affairs office who's going to be your student service coordinator, who is someone, again, that you can meet with on the regular or however you want to ensure you have all the things that you need. We have other things in terms of the university, in terms of the resources that we can help partner you up with. If it has to do with tutoring, if it has to do with anything in terms of disability, anything in terms of that nature, we have all of that for you. right here within the School of Nursing. And so we think along with that, it helps us, not helps us, it helps you as a student be successful, right? If it's in a classroom or if it's in, one of our affiliated hospitals, we believe that's what makes us one of the top nursing schools. Okay, so let's think about some things that are important. The first thing is the application deadline. We'll probably say this plenty of times throughout the session just to kind of, drill it in your head. But the deadline is November 1st of this year. The application is going to open up after Labor Day. So you still have about another month and a half before the application opens. And then once that happens, you'll have about 2 months to apply. Again, we're going to go over the admissions process, especially the prerequisites, because people have questions about that. But we'll also talk about the 2 essays, statement of purpose and personal statement. One thing that we want you guys to know is that there is a big difference, right, between the undergraduate and graduate level work. And so again, knowing that this is a master's program, our faculty and everyone in between in terms of administration are going to require graduate level work from you, right, in terms of your critical thinking, your dedication, time management, right, and all those sort of things. There are going to be specific days that you will have to come to campus for class, as well as your clinical rotations. Mostly, it's going to be throughout the week, right? Monday through Friday. It won't be every day, but you may have classes on Thursday and Friday, and then you may have a clinical rotation or multiple rotations on, the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday sort of thing. There can be times where you'll come on an off day to do some more practice in our skills lab. So again, just kind of think about this being a full-time program and all the amount of time that you're going to have to dedicate for the program. Okay, so here are just some goals, right? In terms of what we want to ensure that our students are going to be able to do upon graduating. We want to make sure that we're going to provide a new workforce of RNs, right? So of course, that is the case. You guys may know that there is a nursing shortage, been like that for years, but at the same time, we still have, older nurses that are still in the field and haven't graduated yet, right? Or I'm sorry, haven't retired yet. But that doesn't excuse us from making sure that we're going to make sure that our students are clinical leaders in any healthcare capacity. And they're also going to be able to deal in a high-tech and high acuity setting as well. And so for us to be able to provide that for you, here are just some of the hospitals that we're affiliated with. So it's not limited to the ones that you see on here on the screen. But of course, we're going to send you to UCLA Health, right? If that's Ronald Reagan or if that's UCLA Santa Monica. We're also going to send you to the VA, which is here in Santa Monica, Cedars-Sinai, Torrance Memorial, Northridge, which is the Dignity Health. So pretty much what I always like to say is we'll send you anywhere down that 405 South, if you're familiar, if you live in Los Angeles, all the way up to the 405 North, right, from Torrance up to Northridge and anywhere in between. We see Good Samaritan. We have Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. We also have Kaiser as well. So there's plenty of hospitals that we're going to send you to. The reason for it is we want to ensure that you're going to be able to experience different hospitals, different floors, right, and how they're ran, the different type of patients, I should say, you're going to be able to see. So hopefully by the time you graduate, you'll have an idea of, hey, these are the hospitals that I like, and maybe these are one of the hospitals that I want to apply to. Or if you want to go back to your respective home or city or state, that you'll be able to do that as well. Okay, so let's get into some kind of frequent Q&As, or as I say, questions, and I'll help answer those for you. And then we'll take a quick pause and answer some questions that you guys have typed in the Q&A as well. So minimum GPA is going to be a 3.0. Again, that's going to be from the cumulative standpoint, right? So it has to be a minimum GPA of a 3.0. If you do not have a 3.0, it's okay. You can still apply, right? In the past, we've admitted students have under a 3.0, but it is on us to write a justification to UCLA Graduate Division in terms of why you will still be a successful graduate student. So don't be discouraged if your GPA is under 3.0. We still admitted students in the past. When will admissions decisions be made? So knowing that you're going to be applying November 1st, our goal is to notify students in the month of February, no later than the end of February, right? So it does take a few months to go through the application process and to make decisions. Is there a wait list? Yes. Again, remember, there is a wait list. We'll admit our initial 70 students, and we'll have a wait list, and we'll go to them as students decline our admissions. Next question, do you defer students We do not, unfortunately, the university does not allow students to defer anymore. They did for about the 3-year span while we were in COVID, or I should say during the pandemic. But now that that's been lifted, graduation no longer allows students to defer. So it's important to know, if you are planning to attend the program in 2025, right, that if you apply and that you are admitted, that you will have to attend in the fall. Of course, there are things in terms of life, right, that happens, and you have every intention to start, but something may happen in terms of where you won't be able to start in the fall. Unfortunately, you would have to reapply. Okay, so anyone that is unable to attend that's admitted, you will have to reapply for admission for the following year. How often do we admit into the program? We only admit once a year. That's for every fall. Okay, so for every fall is when we'll admit students. Is graduate housing available? Yes, graduate housing is available. We have family and we have single family. I'm sorry, family and single, I should say, for graduate housing. They call it off campus, but it's pretty much in the village, or I should say in Westwood. And what is our retention rate and how well do our students do on the NCLEX? We are very high, on both. If we admit 70 students, we'll probably graduate 68 to 69 of the students. For the 1 or 2, they may have to do an additional year, but majority of our students will graduate as they go through the program. And last year, we had 100% first-time pass rate for those that took the NCLEX. For the students that just graduated, I should say last month, they are studying now, and they will be taking the NCLEX next month. So typically our students take the NCLEX either end of July, but most of them are going to take it in August. And so we're excited to hear back from them to see how well they did. Okay, so before we get to the sample course sequence, I'm going to check this Q&A really fast to see if there's any questions that should be answered now, or if we can wait to answer those. Let's see. Okay, yes. These are some good questions, but they will be answered. Let's see. Okay, someone is asking, so UCLA does offer a post-bac program to prepare students to apply to the nursing program. Will this post-bac offer any sort of advantage in admissions to the MECN program? That's a great question. So no, it does not. That post-bac is really going to be for individuals that need to complete, specific prerequisites. And so, no, if you complete it at a community college, it is no different if you were to complete that post-bac offered through UCLA Extension. So that's a great question. Someone is asking, if I graduate fall 2024, can I still apply? Yes, you can still apply as long as you complete your degree before you start the program. The next time we'll be admitting is going to be fall 2025. So of course you're going to have your degree by then. Okay. Some people are asking personal questions, but we will answer those. Okay, let's keep going, but I promise we'll answer all these. Okay, so we're looking here at the sample course sequence. I think it's important for you guys to take a look at this just to see what it's going to look like, right, throughout your 2 years. Hopefully you guys downloaded the information packet, which is in the same web link in terms of where you found the
I'll add the link in the chat.
link to RSVP. And so Natalie, if she can find that, she may be able to put that link in the chat. So you'll be able to also just have this sample course sequence on hand. But as you see in the fall quarter, there is no clinical rotation during your fall quarter. That doesn't start until the winter. But you're seeing, right, for fall, you're going to start with advanced pathophysiology. There's an ethics course, and then your fundamentals. So you'll have your lab component for your fundamentals and your physical assessment. As you get into your winter, you're going to do the advanced pharm, the advanced patho. You're going to have your fundamentals, and you're going to do your first rotation, which is med surg. Going to spring, right? You're going to have your research, another advanced pharm, secondary prevention, and another rotation to go through the summer, right? As you see, remember, you're going to have another full summer. That's for leadership. You're going to have your mental health rotation, and moving forward. So as you see, it goes on right from year 1 all the way through year 2. And what you're seeing there is during your winter, yep, of year 2, you're going to have what's called immersion. And I think it might be on this next slide here as well. Yes. So again, if we're looking here about in terms of the clinical experience, if you're looking here for year 2, we have what's called immersion. Immersion is where you're no longer going to have any classroom work. I mean, at this point, after you've done your med-surg A, B, and C, right, as well as your maternity and mental health, you should have an idea in terms of what floor and even possible what hospital you may be thinking about working once you graduate. We have our own clinical placement team in terms of assisting you to make sure you get all your rotations and your hours done. They'll ask you for your top 2 choices. So you'll say, hey, I want to work at this hospital, or not work. I want to do my immersion at this hospital and on this floor. They do their best to try to give that for you. But what you'll end up doing is you'll be with your preceptor, again, who is a nurse, right, in that hospital. And you're going to be emulating working those 12-hour shifts as if you are a nurse. Along with the immersion, there is going to be a project that's involved. And so that project pretty much is showcasing what you think you can provide that would be the betterment for that floor. You typically will present it to that floor and they use it, 9 times out of 10, they use it. You also present it to your classmates, and then you finish up immersion. And in spring, you do have what we call a public health rotation. So that's where you're going to finish up. And at this point, we do have our students that go through different parts of Los Angeles. They go to Skid Row, which is, highly popular, I should say, place in terms of need for our homeless population, where you're able to do a lot of things there. We do other rotations in terms of public health, where we send our students to, occupational, health environment sort of situations, if it's plants or whatever the case is. So they do that. There's even a rotation where students do things here on campus. So I know someone mentioned the passion that they have for public health. And so at the end of the program, you do have the opportunity as well to get a public health certification, right? And so that is important as well. So for those that have a high interest in public health, it's not just a rotation. There are classes that are built in with public health that will help you in terms of getting your certification. And there's multiple rotations that you'll be able to choose from to finish up with that public health. That's going to be your 2 years, right? And so once students graduate, they do come back that following Monday, and we put them through what we like to call a boot camp. So we have one of our fabulous faculty members, Barbara Denham. She goes for about a week with our students and help prepares them as they, start to kind of set out and study for that NCLEX. All right, let's talk about time management. So of course, we kind of have to state this, I should say, because it is something that UCLA says in terms of what they think is required from you to be a successful student, right, in terms of time management. So what they always like to say is for each unit that is taken, they say you should dedicate at least 3 hours. If it's inside the classroom or outside, it should be at least 3 hours per week, right? So if you're thinking you have 14 units in your quarter, times that by 3, and you should devote about 42 hours a week, right? So, right, if you're thinking full-time, right, 40 hours, right, for the regular working adult, you're going to be putting in more than that. And so again, you guys, know your time management skills. Of course, if this is your first time in a graduate program, and again, this is also your first time into a nursing program, these hours will shift in terms of what you think is necessary in order to be successful. Okay, so before Natalie gets started, I do see some more questions in this Q&A. And so let's see if we can help answer some of those for you. A really good question. Do we have information on the hiring rate for our MECN graduates? Unfortunately, we do not. We don't have access for our hiring rate, or I should say how many students are hired. The good thing is that we have really good relationships with our students, and they do come back and they let us know. Another thing is we do have a couple grants that do ask where our graduates are currently working. But for doing this for such a long time, majority of our students do end up working for the hospitals that they do their clinical rotations. A lot of our students do get hired here within the UCLA system. If it's UCLA Ronald Reagan or if it's Santa Monica, we even have students that are hired at the VA as well as Cedars. So majority of them go there, but we do have students that go back to their respective home. There was a student who I helped mentor who was from the Bay Area, and he got his dream job up in the Bay Area, so he moved back there as well. So we don't have the specific rate or percentage, but majority of our students do get hired in the hospitals that they do their clinical rotations. Okay, let's see. Okay, someone's asking, what are the usual lecture times and would the schedules be the same? That's a good question. So typically the classroom in terms of your lectures are going to be during the day. So pretty much what I always like to say is you'll probably have class from 8 to 5, probably 2 or 3 days throughout the week, depending on the quarter. And then your clinical rotations will be during the day. And so they do kind of build up, right? They go from 6 hours rotation, 8 hours, 10 to 12 as you progress throughout your clinical rotations. But if you're doing immersion, you could possibly have a night rotation, right? But in terms of the classroom, that is going to be during the day, anywhere between 8 to 5, 8 to 6 p.m. That's a good question. Another great question, are there opportunities to get involved in research or teaching assistants for our MECN students? So our MECN students don't have the opportunity to be a TA, but they do have the opportunity to do research with our faculty members. So if research is something that people are interested in, you do have the opportunity of piggybacking and jumping on research with our faculty members. It's not required, and so that would be something that you would do outside of the requirements of the MECN program. Okay, another good question. Our classes only consist of MECN students and not undergrad. There are maybe 1 or 2 classes, maybe 1, I believe, that MECN students will have classes with our undergrads. But because majority of the work is going to be at the graduate level, you will be with your MECN cohort. Okay. Let's see what else. Someone's asking, will we know our schedule in advance? Yes, you will. You will know your schedule in advance. That is provided to you from our student service coordinators. They help you enroll in your courses and you'll know exactly what times they are and the days that you are going to be required. So yes, you would definitely know that. Someone's asking, along with the public health certification, are there any others that you can receive? We used to offer the CNL, which is the Clinical Nurse Leader certification, but we are no longer offering that. So we are taking that away, unfortunately. And so students are going to be able to get that public health certification, and then they're also going to obviously receive the RN license when they pass the NCLEX. All right, guys, sorry about that. Looks like my Wi-Fi is messing up and I froze on you guys. Let me do a new share again. So my apologies. Okay, we'll get started again. Okay, so we're good. You can hear me, Natalie, you can see me. I'm good to go?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, okay, perfect. So we'll continue answering your Q&As, but I'm gonna go ahead and let Natalie continue and move along with this application process.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, so we're going to go over the application process, and it's graduate admissions, and you can find the application at grad.ucla.edu. And there are 3 different application types. So most of you will have a new application. Readmission would be if you did undergrad at UCLA. And then renewal, Mark, what's renewal again?
Yeah, so
It's
renewal
not
is
really
gonna be-
common, but you know.
Yeah, it's not common, but renewal is going to be for someone that has graduated with a graduate degree at UCLA already. So let's say if you did like a public health, a master's in public health, you'd be renewal. Readmission is for someone that applied to the program, was
And
admitted,
didn't accept, right?
Yeah, but didn't accept, no, not, did they not accept, but they didn't actually start the program. So they would be a readmission. And then, of course, new would be anyone that is applying for the first time or maybe applying for the second time because they didn't get in the first time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it is the nursing MSN MECN program. Okay, now I'll go over the transcripts. So you'll want your transcripts to be in chronological order, only your four-year institutions. You will upload the unofficial transcripts from your degree program as well as like where you completed your prerequisite coursework. If you are admitted, you'll receive an email from me, Jamie or Mark, requesting your official transcripts with your degree conferred. And we'll also need one official transcript from anywhere you took your prerequisites at. So if you went to school that was maybe an art school or anywhere else that you didn't take prerequisites, we won't need an unofficial transcript from there. Official transcripts must be sealed and they can be sent directly to Student Affairs from the college or university. What we look for in an applicant. So there's a few things that we look for. Why you want to be a nurse. So you can want to be a nurse very, very bad, but you got to be able to put it on paper. We don't conduct interviews. So write from your heart, be very honest and just let us know exactly why you want to be a nurse and why you're a good fit for our school. A self-assessment for your graduate study. So your reasons for selecting UCLA, your goals, get very familiar with our website and our faculty and let us know what some of those goals may be, even though they may change. Any multicultural experiences or diversity, please include examples. So working at a local clinic, maybe you've already been in the healthcare, background. So any of those things. Bilingual ability, so your ability of using that bilingual or that other language, or even if you're interested in learning it and being open to, the diverse population since we're here in LA. Examples of responding to challenges or adversity. So if you're the first person in your family to attend college, any hardships that you may have overcome, these are things that we look for. Accomplishments, make sure that you put them in your resume and that you also, keep everything on there up to date that's relevant for your application. Leadership activities and qualities, please indicate the duration of that time as well. So your statement of purpose, this is a very important part of your application. It's for consideration for the merit-based financial support as well. It is used to understand your academic interest and to evaluate you for your graduate work as well as how you fit into our program. It is 1,500 words in length and approximately 3 pages, single-spaced, 12-point font. You do not need to answer every question. Focus on the ones that are most important to you, and we will go over those questions next. So here are some examples of some of the questions to keep in mind for your statement of purpose. What is your purpose in applying for graduate study in our program? Describe any areas of interest, including any subfields or interdisciplinary interest. What experience have prepared you for this study or research in this degree program? What relevant skills have you gained from those experiences? Have your experiences led to specific outcomes or anything that would support your potential to contribute to this field? Any additional information about past experiences that would help us evaluate your preparation for this program? And why is the UCLA graduate program to which you are applying for the best place for you to pursue these academic goals?
Yeah, and just so really fast, as you guys are seeing like these questions here, what you want to do is just make sure, because these questions, right, are generic in the sense that these are what graduate division is asking every applicant, no matter if they're applying for a master's in publication or public health, I should say, if it's a master's in psychology, or again, if it's one of our master's entry programs. So what you want to do is you want to make sure it aligns with this here. Sorry, I'm going back. right? So it aligns with what we look for in an applicant, okay? And so when it asks questions, generic in terms of like, why do you want to apply to this graduate program? You really want to talk specifically why you want to apply to the MECN program, right? When it asks about your career goals, right? You want it to emphasize about nursing. What we really want you to do is emphasize these important things that she was stating earlier, right? Multicultural experience, diversity. If you are bilingual, multilingual, right? You talk about that, your leadership experience, your accomplishments. So you just want to make sure that this section here is what you're going to look at in terms of answering these questions here. I know a lot of times people get confused, right? As they get to the application, they're like, hey, I didn't see these questions. But you really want to make sure that you go from this here to be able to answer these questions here. Okay. Again, we'll also post not only this session online, but we're also going to post the PowerPoint as well. So you'll be able to have both of these in front of you. All right.
Now we'll move on to the personal statement. This statement should not duplicate the statement of purpose. Here you will describe your background, accomplishments, your life experiences that led you to want to pursue this graduate degree in nursing. Include any educational, personal, cultural, social experiences or challenges and opportunities that are relevant to your academic journey. Describe any aspects of your accomplishments and achievements that will allow us to evaluate you. And any contributions to diversity and such as those efforts to advance equitable access to education and the needs of a diverse population. This will be 500 words, one typewritten page, 12-point font, and single-spaced. Okay, and now we'll move on to the letter of recommendation. So we will need a total of 3. We will need one from a college professor, a health-related setting, which could be a nurse. Sometimes people choose to use doctors, but if you can really get a nurse, that would be the best thing to do. A current employer or supervisor, and no family or personal friends. We will know if you do, so keep that in mind. So yeah, so make sure that you choose the best 3 people that are going to be able to, say the best things about you, highlight you, that know that you're applying to the professional school of nursing. You don't want any of those generic letters that people already have pre-written. So even have them look at your resume before they write that letter of recommendation for you. So those are some things to keep in mind, and they will be able to add a letter, upload a letter to the application. They're directly sent a link, so you don't have to submit anything to us as far as the letters of recommendation are concerned.
Yeah. And so what she means by that is when you go to fill out your application and you put their email address in there, they will get a link to our actual recommendation form. So we have a form that asks specific questions for them to answer. Some of them are just check marks, right? So, we'll ask kind of simple questions, how is your leadership? How is your oral expression? How great of a team member you are. And so they'll be able to check off that you're excellent or outstanding, average, below average, right? And do not know. So they're simple questions that are related to nursing, but then they'll also have the opportunity to upload the letter like Natalie was saying, right? So sometimes recommenders, feel, hey, yeah, this recommendation form is good, but it maybe not tell the full extent in terms of who you are as an individual. So they can also type in or use a typed letter as well. So just wanted to emphasize that.
And keep in mind, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Natalie.
So keep in mind that life does happen. So have a couple people, as backup. You may have to select someone else that, you may have not put on the application at first. And you have the ability to go in and change their email and they'll be able to, submit that for you. So just a couple things to keep in mind. It is due January 15th. So they have some time, but holidays come about and everything, and we will email you reminders and let you know if it's complete or not, if we've received that from them. So yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely important. I do see some questions here in the Q&A that are specific to the letter recommendation, so we'll just go and answer those. So the first one, someone is asking, is it required to have someone from the healthcare related field? So it's not required, but it would be highly recommended if you do have experience in a healthcare capacity. We would recommend doing that, right? If it's a nurse, doctor, physician, whoever it is, if they've seen you in a capacity in terms of the skills, traits that nurses possess, and they'll be able to talk about it, I would definitely do that. Someone also asked if you can, or if it's required to have a current employer, or if you can use someone in the past. Both answers is a yes. You can use a current employer if you like, but if you feel your past employer knows more about you, and again, can attest to you, you want to get into a nursing program, your success in the program, you could use them as well, right? And so I think it's important to select your best. Someone's saying, is it a disadvantage to have no LOR from people in a healthcare setting? No, it's not a disadvantage if you don't use someone from a healthcare setting. But if you are someone who has tons of healthcare experience, right, but do not choose someone in healthcare, that could be something that would not raise a red flag, but just raise some eyebrows if you have tons and tons of experience, but you're not using someone. But if you're someone who has limited experience, but has better letter recommendations from other employers or college professors or mentors, you can do that as well, and that's okay. And that's the same for, it's okay if you don't have a college professor, if you don't have a mentor, you can use any combination you want of your recommenders. If you want all three to come from employment, you can do that. All three professors, you could do that. All three healthcare related, you could do that as well. We just want you guys to select your best three. And I think that's the most important, because there's going to be times where someone's going to select someone, let's say in healthcare, because they have their own office at their own clinic, and you've done some experience with them, but they don't know you that well, they're probably not going to write you a strong recommendation, right? Compared to maybe it's a college professor. So you really want to say first, who would write me the three best letter recommendations? And then go from there. That's what we recommend you do. Okay, and then someone is asking for the letter recommendation, if it's coming from someone in a healthcare setting, can it be a charge nurse that is an LVN? You can, but again, that person that's an LVN is not a nurse. Or sorry, they are a nurse. They're not a registered nurse. And so knowing that you're going to be getting into a program to get your RN license, I would recommend it be someone that is a registered nurse. Okay.
Okay, now we'll go over the resume. This will highlight your education, including any honors you received, work experience, volunteer work, any and everything, all those accomplishments. You want those to be on there. List them in chronological order. And this is very vital for us to review and just make sure it's complete, that it reflects leadership, employment, again, community service, and any other creative experiences, so we can see that and get to know you better.
Yeah, and so I think one question someone may ask is how long it can be. And so typically, right, a work resume or CV or whatever the case is, typically is about 1 page. And so of course you can exceed that. Typically, people will submit anywhere between 2 to 3 pages. And so that's okay. And so making sure that whatever you put down in your statement of purpose or personal statement, it also reflects it in your resume. But because each essay has a word count, there is going to be an instance where you're not able to put everything down in those essays. So you want to make sure that you're able to put it down in your resume/CV. Doesn't matter if you do a resume or a CV, we give the option of both. But you just want to make sure, like Natalie is saying, is that you're going to put all the accomplishments in terms of your experiences, leadership, community service, and so forth in your resume. That's highly important, right? Because one thing, if we don't have it on one of our slides or not, we do not have interviews. Okay, so there's no interview for the program. So once you submit your application, there's no kind of second wave in terms of, oh, I forgot something, and I'll be able to talk about it in my interview. So you want to make sure that you'll be able to put everything down within your essays and specifically in your resume.
Okay, now we will go over the prerequisites. So we have the chemistry, which is the inorganic, organic, and biochemistry. And then we do have the approved course list on our website. And if at any point you don't see your school listed there, you can email us at admissions@sonnet.ucla.edu. The verbal communication, which is the public speaking. Epidemiology can be completed at UCLA, so that's the only outstanding prerequisite you may have. You will have the ability, once admitted, to complete it summer before starting the program. We have human anatomy. The human physiology has to be taken no later than 2020, as goes with the nutrition and the lifespan developmental psychology. So those three have to be taken no later than 2020. The microbiology, statistics or biostats, 2 written communication courses, intro or general psychology, and those are the prerequisites that we require. Okay, so as I said before, all prerequisites other than the epidemiology must be completed by the end of December 2024 for the fall 2025 cycle. There's no exceptions. We don't waive any of those. If admitted, epidemiology will be completed in the summer before fall quarter. All prerequisites must have a C or better, so no C minuses. If you're using an AP score, it must be 4 or 5 is what's acceptable. And you may use 1 only, so you can't use it for English and psych, just 1. The approved list for the pre-licensure prerequisites can be found at nursing.ucla.edu. And we do not require the GRE, the T's, and we do not have interviews.
Yes, and so for those that may be confused about the epidemiology, so for instance, for the students that are getting ready to start with us this fall, right? So they'll be starting in September. They are actually currently taking epidemiology right now with us in the School of Nursing. Okay, so that's typically what it would look like, right? So you apply in November, you find out in into February if you're admitted. We have a bunch of orientations and whatnot that we kind of put you throughout the spring. And then as summer hits, that's where you'll be taking the epidemiology course, right? And so upon completion of that, we'll be able to get that transcript to verify that you've completed it. Natalie did say complete the prereqs with a C or better, right? So no C minus. We have, I promise you, she's seen it, I've seen it, Jamie's seen it. Someone will try to squeeze by with a C minus, okay? And so C minus is not acceptable. If you submit a grade with a C minus, we're not going to tell you, hey, you submitted this grade with a C minus, because you should already know that. If you submit it with a C minus, your application is not going to move forward in the review cycle. So we know it, we see it, and you will not be able to move forward. So just wanted to throw that out there. Some people do try to get away with that, and so that can happen. Also, the same thing for the AP, like she said. We'll accept a 4 or 5, but if you try to use 2 of them, that's not acceptable. If you try to use 1 pass, right, grade or a credit and an AP, that's not acceptable. So I know we're kind of sticklers on it, but our faculty want our students to have letter grades for the prereqs. That's the biggest indication in terms of success. Okay, so I'll do a quick pause, Natalie, if that's okay. I do see some more questions that come in.
Yeah, I was just going to answer it. It says, how early do the prerequisite classes have to be completed before applying for fall? So you can apply and have courses in progress. On your application, you will indicate by putting IP, and we'll know that we'll be expecting an official transcript from you by the end of December, showing us those grades.
Yeah, but that means you cannot have any courses outstanding in the winter quarter or spring quarter. So you can have classes in progress during the fall, right? And so like Natalie was saying, you could, when you're submitting your application, you could put IP for in progress. And then once you do submit or complete the grade, you'll just submit the transcript and we'll update your application. Someone is asking for the epidemiology course, is it in person? So it is. So that the one that we offer in the School of Nursing is in person. We do have a list of approved courses. So if you are looking for something online, we have those on our approved course list. There is one in particular from UC Berkeley Extension that's online that you can do, but we do recommend that our students take our course. Our course is more nursing specific, right? Compared to the ones that we have on our approved list. So a lot of times for the students that go through our epidemiology course, they start off in the program doing really well. They have an idea in terms of the course structure, the time management, you know, having to travel to campus, right? So there's a lot of things that taking this class really helps in terms of as they get ready to start the program. Okay, let's see. Someone's asking if they took epidemiology last summer online, is that okay? Yes, because that's not one of the prereqs that has a time limit. Someone is asking about a chemistry course. I recommend that you send us that course description because I can't answer, you know, a specific chemistry course without seeing the description or the course syllabus. So please feel free to send us that email. We evaluate it pretty quickly and we get back to you just as fast.
So here's another question. If I passed AP language with the 3 and didn't need to take English composition at community college, would I need to take this class? Yes, or if an undergrad, if you had any you know, writing intensive courses, you can email me the course description and syllabus and I can review that.
Yeah. So thank you for answering that, because a lot of people think, hey, well, because I didn't have to take an additional course, do I have to take it? You do. But people get confused, right? In terms of, oh, it has to be English. But like Natalie said, if you have a writing intensive course, like if it was a philosophy course that was writing intensive, or maybe, you know, Afro studies or women's, you know, studies course that was writing intensive, we could accept that as well. So that's totally fine.
Okay, here's the question. If you apply in November, but taking 2 classes in January, but registered for the classes in October, is that okay? So you will need to apply for the following cycle, not the 2025 cycle.
Okay, let's see. Someone said if they graduate in 2019 but plan to apply in 2027, should they highlight and include some of the work they've done as an undergraduate? That's a great question. So yes. So for those that aren't ready to apply, right, or you're going to be applying in a couple of years, or for someone that is ready to apply right away, but they have experience that date back, you know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you can still include that in your application. You can still talk about it in your essays. You could definitely include it in your resume. The only thing that we would ask is that you do have something that is also recent as well, right? So you could talk about the experience that you've done in the past, but as long as you have something that's recent as well, that is also helpful.
And for international applicants, so we do require the TOEFL with at least an 87. And if you've graduated from a foreign university where primary language is not English, the institution code is 4837 and the intended graduate major code is 0610.
Yeah, and so what this does in terms of the institution code and the intended graduate major code is once you take that exam, you'll be able to input those 2 codes and then it comes directly to UCLA. And then we do see it pop up in your application. Someone did ask, because they're an international student, if they can have their transcripts evaluated. So you can do that ahead of time. If you want to have your transcripts evaluated, we could do that. Honestly, the same goes for everyone else here. If you have questions in terms of, did I complete this prerequisite or not, you can send us your unofficial transcript and we can evaluate it for you. And we could determine what courses you have completed and possibly the ones that you still have outstanding. So we do that for you guys. We do feel that's best to ensure that, hey, you're applying knowing that you have your prerequisites completed. So you could definitely do that.
Okay, last but not least, so submit your application by November 1st. That's right after Halloween. Do not wait till the last minute. We always get emails the following day, Mark. I mean, it happens. So just, you know, try your best to not wait till the last minute. Also, the letters of recommendation that we went over and any other documents are due January 15th.
Yeah, and so I'm like
Take a
laughing kind
picture of this.
yeah. One thing, definitely take a picture of this, but I was kind of laughing and smiling because the system is actually, I believe, on Eastern Standard Time. So as people submit their application, you know, if you're on the West Coast, you know, at 11 p.m., it's going to say, you know, you submitted a successful application at 2 a.m., right? So some people start freaking out. It's okay. As long as you meet that deadline and your respective coast, you're good to go. So don't worry about that. We will ensure that we will accept your application. So that's totally fine. All right, so you guys are seeing here, I believe we're calling ourselves the A team. We have so many names, we always forget what we go by. But you can also take a screenshot of this if you would like to reach out to us individually. And we will be able to help answer any questions for you. But we will be the ones that you'll be talking to throughout the application cycle. So if there's anything that's missing, you will get an email from one of us. You will get an email from us. Then you know that things are missing and you'll have that January 15th deadline. If you have any questions in terms of the application, you want to update it, wherever the case is, we'll be able to do that for you as well, as long as it's before January 15th. Okay, so we're going to spend some time answering some questions that you guys have before we show you the financial aid video. So let's see what you guys have here. All right, it's a good question. Someone is saying, what if I'm an international student taking courses here at the community college? Do I still have to take the TOEFL? You will be required to take the TOEFL unless you have 60 units of college credit here in the US. So if you have 60, then you would be able to waive the TOEFL. If you have less than that, then you will still be required to take it. Okay. Someone is asking, if I have a master's degree in something else, can you use that GPA instead of the bachelor's? Unfortunately not. Because this program requires the minimum of a bachelor's degree, not everyone's going to be applying that has a master's. So we will be looking at the bachelor's degree. Now, this does happen. Let's say if someone has a bachelor's degree that has a GPA under 3.0, having a master's degree obviously does help because it does show that you are capable of doing graduate level work. So we do take that into account. We'll also look at both GPAs, but in terms of admission, it's going to be your undergraduate GPA. Okay. Two people have asked, do we have any other certifications besides the public health? We do not. So we just offer the public health certification, and you will be getting your RN license upon passing the NCLEX. All right, let's see. Are there any opportunities for working in student-run clinics? No, I do not believe our students do any of the rotations in student-run clinics. If you want to do any or receive any type of experience in student-run clinics, that would be voluntary and that would be on your own. But all the experience that our students are going to be getting is going to be through our affiliated hospitals in terms of our clinical rotations. Now, we do have student organizations that do things within the campus. If it's giving flu shots, if it's doing any other type of assessment, our students do that if it's on campus or other parts in the community. So our students do that as well. Okay. All right, someone's saying, please remind me, do we have to submit both the personal statement and statement of purpose? So yes, you do. You are going to be required to complete both. The statement of purpose is 500 words. I'm sorry, statement of purpose is 1,500 words, which is about 3 pages. And the personal statement is 500 words, which is about 1 page. And someone's asking, what's the difference of in the application for people who are renewal? So renewal, again, is going to be for someone who has a UCLA graduate degree already. So if you received a master's already in another discipline, you'll be applying for renewal because you're already been a graduate student, you're renewing to come back as another graduate student in another program. Okay, someone is asking, can we explain the public health certification? So our students are able to receive their public health certification because they've completed enough coursework and clinical hours that is required from the state of board of the California Board of Registered Nurse, right? Our degree says, and our curriculum states that you've received enough clinical experience and you have enough within the curriculum to have the opportunity of taking the public health certification. Now, what you want to do with your certification is going to be up to you. You want to, work in a public health setting, you can do that. Okay. Let's see, these are really good questions here. Yes. For renewal, it's only for those that have a UCLA graduate degree. That is correct. You guys also don't really have to harp too much on the new renewal and readmission. If you guys select the wrong one, we'll fix it for you. So don't harp too much on that. But pretty much you're going to be a new student if you did not receive a graduate degree here at UCLA.
Mark, something else I noticed, the GPAs, I think everyone's very concerned about it, but I did want to say that we do not recalculate them for the prereqs that you take at a community college. So the GPA that's conferred on your bachelor's degree, that is what we use for admissions purposes. It's the cumulative GPA.
Yeah, thank you for reiterating that. Yeah, so remember, GPA set in stone as soon as you graduate. That's something I had to learn the hard way. I had no idea once I graduated my undergraduate degree that once I applied for grad school, it was gonna stay there forever. But on staying on that, if your GPA isn't where you want it or it's not where you wish it was, the prerequisites do help, right? And that's why we require these prereqs, and that's why we want to see the grades with the C or better. Now, A's and B's are preferred, right? Of course, to be a competitive applicant, the better your grades are, the better it's going to look. So for someone that has a GPA under 3.0 or it's not where you want it, if you submit your prerequisite grades with A's and B's, it's going to show that you're a better student now than what you were in the past, right? So kind of take that into account, even if it doesn't go into your GPA. Okay, reiterate, the statement of purpose is going to be 1,500 words. The packet may say 1,000, but we just asked graduate division to increase it by another 500 words. So when you get ready to apply or when the application opens up, it should be at 1,500 words and not 1,000. For the past several years, it's been at 1,000, but we want to increase it because we've noticed students have more to say. And so we're hoping that the extra 500 words are going to help. Okay, someone is asking, what are the benefits of the MECN program versus an accelerated BSN? Looks like two people are kind of asking that question. And so it depends on what your career goal is. If you just want to become a registered nurse and you don't want to, further your education and get, your PhD or become an NP or get your DNP, then the master's entry might be, for you, right? You already have a bachelor's degree. And so you will be able to get your master's, right? I think what's also important is where these degrees are coming from. Knowing that Ronald Reagan is the #1 hospital on the West Coast, UCLA Santa Monica. Besides Mount St. Mary's, no other university has their students doing the rotations at our partner hospitals, right? And so depending on where, that ABSN program does their rotations, it's not going to be at the best hospitals. So you're not going to be getting the best experience, right? So that's something to think about in terms of an accelerated BSN in terms of our master's entry. Also, does an accelerated BSN offer certifications, right? Like the public health, it may or may not. So you really want to take account into that. You also want to take into account in terms of where you potentially want to work in the future, right? So as you're starting to look at other schools, look to see where they do their rotations, look to see where most of their students are getting hired. I think that also helps. But ultimately, if you are thinking you want to further your education, it may not stop at the accelerated BSN, it may not stop at the MECN. So it's not really a question for us to answer. It's really going to be more on you in terms of what your potential outlook is. Let's see. All right, someone is asking, is paid/unpaid volunteer experience, does it count as the same in consideration for admission? Doesn't matter if it's paid or unpaid. Doesn't matter if your experience, is doing in terms of interning, volunteering, or working. It's all about the experience. And mostly it's really going to be about how you articulate from that experience, how it's really helped you in terms of furthering, right, your stance on wanting to become a nurse. I think that's the most important thing, right? In terms of it being paid or not paid, it's really going to be about what you want to do. Okay. All right, so keep coming with the questions, but we're gonna transition to the financial aid section, because I see some people are starting to drop off. So I want to make sure that before we end today's session, we will get to the financial aid. So here we go. And I'm gonna press play.
Hi, everyone. My name is Leonie. I'm the Director of Financial Aid at the School of Nursing. Welcome to our information session. I'm so glad you have joined us. In this presentation, I will be sharing an overview of financial aid at the School of Nursing. But if you have any specific questions, please feel free to reach out to us at financialaid@sonnet.ucla.edu. In this session, we'll be going over a few topics, including how to apply for financial aid, annual student fees and the cost of attendance for your program, how to fund your education, and important dates to keep in mind. To begin the process of applying for financial aid, you will need to complete a financial aid application. To know which application to complete, you can reference the information in the table on the right. Most students complete the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA for short. Students that are not eligible for federal aid can apply for state aid through the California DREAM Act application. Now let's zoom in on annual student fees for your program. Annual fees are currently set at $26,116 for one academic year. If you are a non-resident, you will need to pay a supplemental tuition fee of $12,245. Fees are assessed quarterly, so a resident student would pay about $8,705 in tuition and fees each quarter. Student fees include UC-wide and campus-based fees. You can find a specific breakdown of all the fee components on the annual and term student fees page on the registrar's website. Health insurance coverage is mandatory for all students. Students are automatically enrolled in the UC-SHIP health insurance plan, which has a fee of $4,714 per year. The UC-SHIP health insurance requirement and fees can be waived if you already have adequate insurance coverage. The cost of attendance, or COA for short, is an allowance based on the educational expenses that students might incur. So the COA includes direct and indirect costs, and it's also the maximum amount of financial aid students can receive during an enrollment period. You will see in the pie chart the different components of the cost of attendance. The total projected budget is currently $61,382. You'll see that tuition and fees is just one part of that component. The rest also include room and meals, books and supplies, transportation, health insurance, and even loan fees. So students can fund their education in a combination of ways, through scholarships, loans, and working at UCLA. Grants or scholarships is gift aid that you won't have to pay back. And those include fellowships through the graduate division, which you can apply to on your application for admissions. And all students who submit a financial aid application and a School of Nursing scholarship application will receive some sort of scholarship funding. That can include scholarships that are based on your program or interests, need-based scholarships like the Audrey N. H. Mosley Scholarship or HRSA Scholarship for Disadvantaged Students. We also have merit scholarships, and we always encourage students to expand their scholarship search and look for outside scholarships. Loans is borrowed money that you will need to pay back. This includes direct unsubsidized loan, which can be offered up to $20,500 per academic year, a direct graduate plus loan, which is based on students having adequate credit, The DREAM loan for our DREAM Act application students up to $4,000 annually. Nursing students also qualify for a nursing student loan. And there are also a lot of private loan options. Lastly, some students choose to work at UCLA. So this requires, of course, that you work and you earn money or employer-paid benefits. So either you can qualify for federal work study and be a work study student somewhere on campus. There's also academic apprenticeships where you can qualify for fee remissions, and UC employees. So eligible regular status UC employees can qualify for a 2/3 tuition reduction in the student services and tuition fees. Now, before we end our presentations, I want to highlight some important dates. Each year on October 1st, the financial aid applications open. On November 1st is the deadline to apply for fellowships through the graduate division. March 2nd is the financial aid application priority deadline. So you want to make sure to submit your FAFSA or DREAM application by this date. In May, typically, our School of Nursing scholarship application opens, and this is shared with students after they are admitted. And in June is when our scholarship application deadline is set. You can find more information about financial aid at the School of Nursing on our website at nursing.ucla.edu/financial-aid, or feel free to email me your specific questions at financialaid@sonnet.ucla.edu. Thanks for listening.
Awesome. So hopefully you guys were able to get some really good information out of Leonie in terms of scholarships, loans, and or having to pay for the program. Majority of our students do receive scholarships in the program, but at the same time, majority of them are also going to have to pay for the program as well. Leonie does a really good job of looking individually at your FAFSA when you do submit it, your contributions, to then be able to set up, you know, what it would take for you to feel comfortable in terms of if there's any additional loans or scholarships that you could apply for to receive. So after being admitted into the program, is make sure that you submit your FAFSA, and then she's able to meet with you individually to give you a financial outlook. So I do think that's important. So you definitely want to make sure that you apply. All right, so this is going to conclude our information session. We're right on almost time in terms of almost about 3:30 in terms of setting the rest of the time to help answer any questions. We know it's a lot of information that we throw at you, but we do hope we're able to, you know, help clear any questions you guys have, maybe any concerns, but then us at the same time also kind of help spark, you know, that interest some more. The applications are going to be opened up, you know, fairly soon in the next couple of months. So we will be here to help navigate that process for you and help make sure that you complete a successful application. So again, thank you everyone for joining. If you want to hang on, ask some more questions, we're going to be here to answer those for you as well. Okay, let's see. Yeah, thank you everyone. Thank you for the kind words. Okay, someone is asking, hi, just to clarify, the MECN program was not recommended over the ABSN for people looking to pursue an APR and DNP, etc. Not that it's not recommended over ABSN. You can get an ABSN, you can get a MECN, and you can still apply for an NP program, DNP, or PhD. So both degrees are going to allow you to pursue your graduate or to further your graduate education. Just depends on what you want to do. And I think with that, it's going to be more about fit, right? Does the ABSN fit you more, or does this MECN program fit? But you will be able to apply to a DNP, PhD, and so forth. All right, so feel free to ask any questions you guys have, and we'll answer those for you. Okay, someone is asking if admitting to the program, when does orientation start? Well, we have a welcome event that happens in April or May. And then we have orientation that probably starts in June or July. So we have several things that we have you guys come to. But it pretty much will probably start probably end of April or May, and it goes throughout the summer. The orientations the welcome event is virtual. And then the orientation, what we do is we have what we call modules now. And so we have them outlined. And so you're able to do them at your own pace in terms of the orientation. Good question. Someone's asking, will we still be able to qualify for FAFSA if we had our 4 years as an undergrad? Yes. So a FAFSA goes for undergraduate and graduate school. So you can apply for both. Let's see. Okay, someone's asking to confirm for the full 2 years. It's about 52,000 for tuition, and then additional about 9,000 for health insurance. Yeah, sounds about right. But one thing to keep in mind is for health insurance, the university requires health insurance, but if you have your own, that is something that you could take off. But no matter what, you're gonna have to have some type of health insurance. Yeah, and then for the tuition, it's broken down into quarters. So you don't have to pay that full tuition before the school year starts. It's broken down into quarters. Okay, someone is asking, I heard that it's beneficial for FAFSA early to increase the qualification for grants, but would you recommend waiting until February when the results come out? Yes, you can. You can wait. But there's no harm in applying for FAFSA in October when it opens. It's really fast, as you guys know. You just put in the school, put in your information. But you can wait until February if you want. But it is important kind of talking about that FAFSA. I was talking to Leonie actually just this week or maybe a week ago about a current student that's admitted to the program, and they submitted the FAFSA late, right? And so you can still submit your FAFSA after the March 2nd deadline, but again, right, you can lose priority. So it is important to definitely submit it before. All right, good question. Someone is asking for the wait list. Do you go down in order or is it random? So yeah, we do actually have it in order. So it goes from 1 all the way down. And so number 1 has, right, the first chance to get off the wait list. Number 2, 3, and going down the line. So that's a great question. And we do notify you of your wait list number as well. So we do notify you and say, hey, you are number so-and-so on the wait list. Would you like to stay on, or would you like to pass it up and give, the opportunity to someone else? So we do notify you as well. All right, so we'll still hang tight for a couple more minutes just to see if there's any questions. Yeah, someone's asking, can we go back to the personal statement questions? Yes. Yes, we can. Where are they? There you go. All right. There we go. Okay, so we'll leave that there. And we'll hang tight maybe for another minute or so. All right. I think we're good. So again, for those that are hanging on, just want to say thank you. Really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email us, and we can set up an appointment with you. But at the same time, if you have any questions about transcripts, any other things that may be concerning to you, please feel free to reach out to us, and we'll be happy to meet with you. Thanks again for joining us, and we hope to look for your application and your name fairly soon. So thank you, everyone. Take care.